All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to come. My name is Mark Sanders. I'm the Deputy Director at the Austin Technology Incubator. You'll hear us call it ATI most of the time. We just don't like to say Austin Technology Incubator all the time. I'll also be the point of contact for the program. So if you're applying, you have additional questions, please look to me to kind of shoot me emails, my phone number, whatever, however you want to get a hold of me. If you have questions about the application or just about the program in general, I'm your person, at least to start. Before we get going, just a few housekeeping notes. Please take a moment to make sure your microphone's muted. The presentation should be about 30 minutes. We'll reserve the back half of the meeting for Q&A. So if you have those questions or anything you want to throw about the program itself or what we presented or the application, we'll stick around and answer all those questions, and I'll even be here past the hour. During the presentation, if you have any questions, you can drop those in the chat and we'll pick them up. Our website will be launching March 1st, which is next week, along with the applications. So if you want more information at that time, you can find it there as well, and just be on the lookout for an email following the presentation, or probably early next week announcing that the applications are open and have a link to the website. Again, thanks so much for taking the time today. We really appreciate it. The program, just quickly, the program was born from just years of working with deep tech startups like yourselves, and we were right alongside them, and shared in their successes and shared in their failures, and really we just saw a gap, in the ecosystem for supporting startups who are transitioning into scale-ups, and we've really taken those learnings, working alongside deep tech companies, and built this program around it. Around those learnings to help you scale, right, and help you scale successfully. That's what this endeavor is all about. I hope that comes through, and that's the purpose. At this point, I'm going to hand it over to Lisa Stuarty, who is our go-to-market lead here at ATI.
Thanks, Mark. And can I just get a quick thumbs up? Everyone can hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Well, as Mark said, my name is Lisa Stuarty. I've been serving as an executive in residence at ATI. I'm also their practice area lead on go-to-market. It is such a pleasure to be able to talk to you today about this program. It is a passion project for us. As Mark said, I've been in and around go-to-market with startups for over 20 years, worked on over 70 different new product launches and scale-ups over the years. And one of the big themes, as he said, that has been expressed by founders both at ATI and elsewhere is just that they wanted more programming to support subsequent phases of their business. The incubator and accelerator space is pretty well covered. If you're a brand new startup with an idea on a napkin and you're just trying to get going, there's a lot of great programming out there for folks like that. But if you are specifically a deep tech company, as you all are, and specifically in a later stage of your business, so maybe you've already got a proof of concept, or you've got a pilot going, and you're looking at making that transition from being really pure sort of lab-based startup to being a fully commercialized business, that transition period can be really fraught. And a lot of the healthcare and sustainability startups that we serve have similar problems during that period, and the community that ATI and DaVinc are able to bring to bear to help problem solve together with you is just a really impressive, very experienced community of folks. And we've been, like I said, we've been wanting to start a program like this for some time. So we're just really excited to be able to talk to you about that today. And I will just kindly beg your indulgence. This is not my usual Austin office setup. As you may have seen on the news last week, we were devastated by snowstorms. I actually lost my regular office. So I may be a little slow with my trigger finger on the slides, but hopefully you'll give me a little bit of wiggle room there because I'm not in my usual spot. All right. Oops. So just a quick agenda for how we're going to spend the next hour together. Ideally, the first 30 minutes of this, we'll be sharing out a little bit of information, trying to answer in advance any questions you would naturally have about the program, and really leave the back half of the time that we have together to hear your questions. So if at any point while I or any of the other team members is speaking, if you want to drop your comments or questions into the chat, we will definitely pick those back up at the back half of the presentation, answer those questions as well as any questions you want to hold till the end. But here's what we're going to cover. We'll introduce the team members on the phone, talk a little bit about the program and what you're going to learn. go over the eligibility requirements for the program, talk about the program fees, and the good news is that those are free to you. That always already comes built in to your SBIR phase 2 funding, and walk you through the application process. So it's really an incredible team that we've been able to pull in. I think just like I said, the excitement about the program, as well as the desire to have to do this for several years now, finally being able to bring it to bear, has just attracted a fantastic group. The leadership team is all on the phone, so I'll just quickly let you know who those folks are. They're going to be talking to you here in a minute. We've got Mitch Jacobson, who's the executive director of ATI, is on the line. He just gave a wave. Preston James, who's the CEO and co-founder of Div Inc., is going to be joining us. Myself, I've already introduced myself. Lisa McDonald, who's the director of healthcare at the Austin Technology Incubator. Aaron Keys, who's our sustainability director and covers the sustainability portfolio. Mark Sanders, who you met at the top of the call, our deputy director. Brooke Turner, who's the VP of programs at Div Inc. Hi, Brooke. And Richard Amato, who is currently the strategy director at ATI, but also is the originator, founder of the sustainability practice at ATI. So just an absolute wealth of knowledge on all things sustainability as well. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mitch to talk to you a little bit about who ATI is and our long experience in deep tech.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to roll out this new program to you. One of the things is that we are not new to this industry. We've been around since 1989. That makes us the longest standing active technology incubator in the country, actually. We have evolved like every business evolves. We've evolved a lot over those 32 years. And over the past really 10 years, we've been evolved into this deep tech incubator. So we started out as a sort of an industry tech, hardware, software, technology incubator way back when. But over the number of years, as Lisa had inferred, Richard created back in 2001 a clean energy incubator, which is now our sustainability incubator. And in 2008, we created a biotech incubator, which is now our healthcare incubator. So we decided years ago to really use this as our niche. We are part of the University of Texas at Austin. We have an amazing engineering school and business school and other things that we can lean on for our entrepreneurs. We are not just dedicated to the technologies that come out of the University of Texas. We serve not only Central Texas and the state of Texas, but really the United States. And of course, virtual programming, as we are in now, has made that even easier. But we've had companies as far away as the Netherlands and England and Seattle and all over the place. You can see on this screen some of the impact that we have had over those years. We've had many, many exits, both in terms of IPOs and acquisitions. Lots of companies who have graduated from our program. We are an incubator, we're not an accelerator. So companies come into our incubator for years, a year, 2 years, 3 years. We're not a curriculum per se. We're a custom house to really customize what the needs of our companies are to how we can help them. We connect, we advise, we mentor, and we help them raise funds. And so we are now very much dedicated to 100% deep tech, science, engineering. Obviously, software and other things are included in those technologies. But we work with companies who have identified big problems in the area of sustainability and the healthcare area, and are solving those problems with their technologies, and we help them grow their businesses. So that's who we are, and I will pass it back to Lisa, or am I passing to Div Inc?
Brooke. Brooks, yeah.
There you Brooke, and one of our great partners in Austin, who we've known for a long time, and is Div Inc, and I'll turn that over to Brooke.
Thank you, Mitch. I'm so glad to be here, everyone. Please throw in your questions, your introductions in the chat. We have a whole team here to interact with you. So I'm Brooke Turner, VP of Programs at Div Inc. My fearless leader and CEO, Preston James, couldn't be here. Always, taking care of everything. So he's definitely available for a conversation. I'll share his email and contact in the chat here later as well. But we're so excited to be in this partnership with our good friends at ATI to deliver the Go-to-Market Studio Empower program. DivInc is a startup ecosystem builder. We're founded in 2016. So we've been on a mission to really expand innovation in this ecosystem by making it authentically diverse and equitable. And so we have our startup accelerator programs, we have our partners, we have our community programs, all to remove barriers for underrepresented founders. And these are barriers associated with access to human, social, and financial capital. How can we change and make the ecosystem more innovative by making it authentically diverse and equitable? So we have some numbers here to just kind of show our focus and who we serve and the work that we've been doing. And we are excited to be again in this partnership so that we can continue on this innovative path. Throw in your questions. Glad to be here.
All right, thank you, Brooke. So I think maybe it's good to just take a minute and talk a little bit about what are some of the advantages or why we designed the Empower program in the way that we did. Why should you come and work on your go-to-market activity with us? First, it is a certificate program. So, as Mitch said, we are part of the University of Texas. We thought a lot. We do a lot of executive training and so forth. So we definitely draw on our backgrounds in whether it's executive MBA or other types of executive training, really understanding the needs of founders and deep tech leaders, working with CEOs and who have busy schedules and they want to get the learning and they want to be part of the ecosystem, but how do we sort of make this work for them as a part of their lives and fit into their already jam-packed schedules. We are the deep tech leaders. Also, as Mitch touched on, ATI is the longest active incubator in the US and a leader in deep tech, specifically around sustainability and healthcare. I already sort of joked at the top of the call about the challenges of last week, but Mark and I, we teach entrepreneurship on campus at UT. Our fearless leader in entrepreneurship there is Dr. Michael Weber, who is also the head of the Energy Institute at the University of Texas, and as well as I believe the Chief Science Officer at NG, or Chief Innovation Officer at NG. You probably saw him quoted multiple times in the press over the last 2 weeks as this drama here unfolded. But this is just kind of the caliber of folks that we not only sort of have access to, but are deeply intertwined with. And I think there's really, I can't think of a better place if you are a company who is building technology in the areas of sustainability, and especially now in healthcare, between the School of Engineering, the School of Natural Sciences, and Dell Medical. There's just this robust sort of catching fire ecosystem here in Austin to build those kinds of technologies. The other thing that I would probably, I can't sort of underline it enough, is this idea of cohort-driven learning. As I mentioned, I've been in and around startups for over 20 years now, both on the VC side as well as operator of multiple startups myself. And one thing that I know for sure is that being a founder can be pretty lonely. There are things that you just can't talk to your investors about. There are things that you just can't talk to your employees about, or even your leadership team. A lot of times, especially if you're a first-time founder, you're navigating a space and everything is the first time. It's the first time you've ever had to design an org chart and hire the right people into the right roles. It's the first time anybody has ever put pressure on you to deliver CAC, meaning your customer acquisition costs. So there's just so much newness, and you have this dual responsibility to always be in command and look like you know what you're doing, even though paradoxically, a lot of you're doing it for the first time. And so having a cohort of folks who are building businesses in your industry, so their problems and their networks are directly relevant to what you're doing, as well as the vast ecosystem available to you through this program of people who are just there to support you. They're just there to coach, roll up our sleeves, be hands-on, do whatever it takes to help you be successful. without the fear of judgment or, performance or any of those kind of anxieties, but just knowing that you've got an extended team who's on your side 100% of the time, I think is a major factor of the program. And then the other thing, as Brooke kind of talked to in diversity, diversity is something that is built into every aspect of the program. So we think about whether that is the ecosystem that we've put together of investors, corporate partners, the work that we do across campus. All of this is we really look at through the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion, that we're not just sort of focused only on one thing or one type of technologist or one type of science or one way to do something. Diversity is really a mindset that we think permeates everything that we do. And then in addition, I would say for the cohorts, you benefit whether you're actually a founder who comes from an underrepresented background and would like to join a program that is focused on diversity, or even if you don't come from an underrepresented background, but you want to build your company from the ground up with a focus on diversity, equity, inclusion, you'll find that in this program. And so here's just kind of in a snapshot what the programming looks like for the 2021 cohort. We'll be kicking off the program in June and really using the summer together to lay the foundation, sort of get everyone on the same page in terms of basic fundamentals, laying your go-to-market foundation. And then you'll spend a couple of quarterly business cycles with us, working with us on a weekly basis to really build your business together under and through the Empower program. So you've probably heard the expression, building the plane while you fly it. I think that's a really good one here. That's really the spirit of what we're trying to do together. You've got to fly the plane, and you got to kind of build it in flight. We're there to help you with that. I think the other thing probably that's important to emphasize here is how this fits into your schedule, into your work life. So we've envisioned the program and the way that it's currently planned is about a 3-hour commitment per week. And that is 2 hours of hands-on, whether that is classroom, workshop building, but we're really going to be building things together. And then 1 hour per week will be a weekly coaching session with your primary coach, your primary venture advisor. As I said, this is not a passive academic program. It's not an advice program. It really is a building program. So we're very focused on surrounding you with as an extension of your team with the right resources to make sure that you're seeing week over week progress and that you have, both goal planning, goal attainment, and goal accountability within the program. So these are sort of the 3 pillars of how about program design. The first is learning. So as we said, a lot of our founders are, doing this for the first time. And even for those who aren't first-time founders, always staying up to date and staying current on best practices. So we're focused on best practices in team building. How do you extend out and design your organization? Transition to having roles and responsibilities and practice area leaders. Product development, what's next for product development? How do you build a customer acquisition engine and a product adoption engine? What are the HR and operational components that are critical to scale up? So we'll be looking at each of these areas of your business and really talking through best practices that are specific to healthcare and sustainability companies, as well as specific to that scale up phase. The second pillar of the program is really applied learnings. So as I said, because we are focused on healthcare and sustainability companies, every other week you'll be attending workshops that really help you translate the classroom learnings to the issues facing your business. So what I like to say is there's no homework in this program, there's just work. We're not an academic program in the sense that you're going to be given assignments that aren't directly applicable. From the day that you learn it, we want you to be able to go in with your team, go in with your company the following day, the following week, and start applying those learnings. And so the program sort of alternates between classroom-based and workshop-based learning and application. And then finally, the third pillar of the program is mastery. transitioning from being a lab-based venture into a fully commercial enterprise in a commercial setting with healthy business fundamentals in place is really what this program is all about. So this gives you an opportunity to not just sort of hear it once, try it once, do it once, but to really develop the healthy habits and the sustained business fundamentals that are going to carry you through not only this period, but be the foundation of the business that you're trying to build. So here's just, for example, a sample month of content, what that would look like. We wanted to just kind of give you a flavor of how this plays out. You can see the blue copy there, sort of alternating week 1, week 3, and odd weeks you'll be in a lecture session where you're really going to be focused on best practices. So in this particular month, we're talking about customer experience mapping. So what does an ideal customer journey look like? What is a customer experience map? How do you think through all those different touch points that you have with the customer, before the sales process begins, the actual sales process, and then through to post sales and support. Then you'll actually be attending a workshop where you're going to be building your own customer experience map and really thinking through what that means for your business. We'll be talking about your organizational design and the roles and responsibilities needed to support the customer journey that you envision or the customer experience that you've laid out. And then in the final workshop, we'll break into healthcare and sustainability groups to really focus on the topics that are specific to those cohorts. And then I would be remiss if I didn't emphasize just what an important role coaching and mentorship plays in this program and the way the program has been designed. You've heard me say already a couple of times, sort of surrounding you and working as an extension of your team. That's really what this is all about. So there are 3 key features of how we approach coaching and mentorship. The first is what we refer to as a partner lead. So each founder, each company that joins us, you will have a partner lead assigned to you for the duration of the program. So for the full 10 months of the program. And that person is an experienced executive coach who has a background in either or all of go-to-market, sustainability, and healthcare. In addition, you'll have subject matter experts that are specifically coming from your industry or your set of technologies, business problems. And you'll have access to this vast network of subject matter experts that are available for ad hoc or ongoing consulting throughout the program. My partners, Lisa and Aaron, are going to talk more about that here in a minute. And then finally, your mentor team. So I talked about sort of goal setting, goal attainment, and goal accountability. We will handpick an advisory board of industry experts who will help with that. You'll meet with them once a month to kind of report your progress and share out your goals for the following month. So here's a little graphic to kind of show what that looks like just over the course of a month. You'll have these weekly meetings, these weekly 1-hour coaching sessions with your lead mentor, who's really your champion and your advocate throughout the program. And then finally, your advisory team will meet once a month for 90 minutes to check in with you as a full mentor team. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off to Aaron Keys, who's going to talk to you a little bit about our community of experts.
Sure, thanks, Lisa. So as Lisa mentioned, my name is Erin Keys, and I direct the sustainability vertical at ATI. A little about me, and then I'll get into some of the mentors that are helping the companies in our current portfolio, which could be equally applicable, to the folks going through this program in particular around go-to-market. I spent 13 years in the energy industry before coming to ATI, specifically in roles focused on sales, marketing, analytics, go-to-market, everything from renewables to distributed energy resource management to traditional energy production around natural gas and nuclear. And, came to ATI 2.5 years ago and have been focusing on a variety of different verticals outside of energy. So sustainability and ATI nomenclature includes energy, mobility, circular economy, food and ag tech, and water. And that experience that I received in the energy industry is actually incredibly applicable to a variety of different verticals, including those that I just mentioned. Similar themes around decentralization, collection of data to inform better decisions, machine learning and artificial intelligence. The list goes on, but just wanted to kind of ground everyone on the industry that I came from. Although the companies that we work with are across the board of the verticals that I mentioned. And I'm going to use one as an example here in terms of the types of experts that we connect with these companies to kind of guide them around things like how to build a team, go to market, industry connections, connections with fundraising and investors. So Vitro, actually, there was a question in the chat around the applicability of a DoD focused company to sustainability. So this is actually a great use case for that. Vitro is a company that is taking a little bit of a different approach to cybersecurity. Instead of focusing on protecting the network, they focus on protecting the data. So they're a data authentication company. The leader of Vitro's mentor team for text VMS, which is the way that we approach it on the ATI side, is the global director of IoT for utilities, which is a use case that Vitro is really focusing on in terms of energy and water utilities and data authentication for those use cases. This is a great person for them to be in contact with and to be coaching them. They're working on a white paper with Intel around this. So the amount of credibility and expertise that comes from having a connection like that on their team, who's basically functioning like an advisor, but also an extended version of their team, is invaluable. Another example is a company called Herdsy. They provide cattle collars that maximize both profitability and environmental sustainability for livestock farmers. And one of the people on their mentor team was the head of AI for Hypergiant, which is an AI consulting firm that works with very large corporates, Fortune 50s like GE, IBM, Apple, and having access to this leader, it has been an incredible value to Herdsy in terms of customer connections and also just coaching around, how do you approach customers whenever you're offering an AI solution like they do. So that's a little bit about the mentor aspect. I'm going to hand it off to Lisa to talk about healthcare and her background and some of the mentors that are available to the folks on the healthcare side. And then we'll get into a little bit more around like the industry connections as well as the venture connections for those same use cases that I just mentioned for Vitro and Herdsy. Go ahead, Lisa. You're on mute.
That's got to happen at least once a call, right? So my name is Lisa McDonald. I'm a physician by background. I've spent my career working in innovation, both in my own pursuits. I've had a couple of companies. Certainly the most successful of those is a company I started in 2016 called Pandemic Tech. So you can imagine. And in my role here at the University of Texas, I run our healthcare portfolio at ATI. So I'm working every day with companies along a vast range of different applications that we label healthcare, but really, they can be much broader than that. And if you're a company that's innovating in any of those wide variety of areas, then you know that the challenges that you face are distinct from, let's say, sustainability companies, and oftentimes the challenges you face are distinct from other healthcare companies, or other companies, innovating in biotech. And so we understand that and understand that the nature of the space is highly heterogeneous, and that, we need to address your specific needs and challenges as you commercialize your innovations in very specific ways. And so as Aaron brought up some examples of companies that we've assisted, I was very excited to see all the action in the chat, because many of you are working in spaces that are, very near and dear to my heart. And I know that Annie's working in the opioid space. So I wanted to bring up a company that we helped, a company in our portfolio called Provine. Provine had developed a tech platform to improve adherence to abstinence programs. And they were selling this through drug court and through DUI court. And you're thinking, why are they in the healthcare vertical? Well, they initially came to us with the thought that they would pivot into the healthcare space in the COVID environment. And so it's a great example of, we brought them into ATI to really interrogate whether or not that was a good move. And we put a team around them that included experts in the criminal justice system as well as experts in the healthcare system. And the importance of that is that through working with the team at Provine, we were able to decide pretty early on, listen, you need to dig down deep into the criminal justice space and work to scale your technology in the criminal justice space. And this is in the time of COVID. And so they faced a unique set of challenges with the jails filling up with COVID positive patients, and there was less adherence to routines because of the system. And so it was a really unique opportunity for us to put a group of people around them that could crystallize their offering in that criminal justice space. And it also led to us being able to work through the distraction of potentially pivoting into healthcare and putting them in a position in a relatively short amount of time to be acquired by a company that was building out technologies to improve abstinence to opioid programs or opioid abstinence programs. And so really, really important space. And a really unique opportunity for us through mentorship, guidance, coaching, and really digging into the business to position them for an acquisition, which that is a huge win in any book. I'll bring up another company that that is squarely in the healthcare space with a potentially game-changing technology, and the company's name is Nephrodite. So Nephrodite is innovating an implantable hemodialysis device that would displace traditional in-unit hemodialysis that you guys might be familiar with, and also peritoneal dialysis. Neither of those are very good solutions to end-stage renal disease. And so Nephrodite came to us actually as a referral from a venture capital company. And I'll bring that up a little bit later when we talk about the importance of very tight networks and working together across ecosystems to be able to get success for companies. So the venture capital company wanted us to work closely with Nephrodite. They were too early for investment, but they knew that, that we had the tools and had the network to be able to foster their development over the next couple of years and hopefully put them in position to receive the investment capital. We placed a mentor team around Nephrodite. The lead mentor is a biomedical engineer who had previous experience innovating in the hemodialysis space and also in conducting clinical trials outside of the United States to lower costs and improve the chances of being able to commercialize successfully. And so it's been a really strong mentor team for Nephrodite. We've also provided them with resources around conducting some proof of concept pig studies. It's a really good example of two very different companies that are having success through mentorship, through coaching, and through that sort of long-term guidance that we can hopefully get them into a position where they can either be acquired, fantastic, or receive investment capital.
Great. So kind of piling onto that in terms of, we kind of break it into three categories: this access to mentors, access to subject matter experts, access to coaching, but then also, access to industry partners for potential customer pilots or just potential customers in general, as well as access to investors and other sources of funds. So I'm going to touch on those two things a little bit. We touched on the mentor aspect and subject matter expert aspect. So using those same two companies from before, Vitro, which currently really has been getting most of their funding from the DoD, going back to that example that was put in the chat, but they have dual use applications across a variety of sustainability verticals. And one of the ones that they're really trying to work through right now is energy. So I mentioned that their Intel mentor is actually helping them with a white paper specifically about the energy vertical. The other ways that they've been connected within that energy vertical are talking to General Electric, which is a former company that I worked for, talking to Itron, also a former company that I worked for. They had access to the Global Research Center at GE, talking to them about the potential application of what they're doing inside wind turbines, for example. That has been incredible sort of feedback from them, from GE, as well as the potential for maybe like a joint development opportunity. They've also been connected with the National Renewable Energy Lab, which is a really key partner of ATI, about a potential demonstration in conjunction with NREL in Colorado around distributed energy management. So again, just a great way for them to get directly connected into this vertical that they're focusing on. The other one, and also just in terms of fundraising, Draper Associates was a connection that we fairly recently made for them through our demo days. I don't know if Draper Associates rings a bell for anyone, but they've backed SpaceX, Tesla, DocuSign. So this would be an incredible way for them to not only raise money, but really get connected into the industry as well, from a VC who has so much clout and weight. So HerdZ is the other company that I brought up, again, with the cattle collars, enabling environmental sustainability as well as profitability for livestock farmers by using data to really predict when's the best time for them to go to market. And through our mentor network, HerdZ has been connected to about half a dozen of the largest cattle ranches in Texas. One of which is one of the largest ranches in the entire United States, that is located in North Texas. So that's been really good in terms of HerdZ having access to customers here in Texas. They've actually deployed already in Europe. This is a UK-based company that's coming to the United States. So that has been excellent for them. And Hypergiant is also shown here on the logo page. That's the head of AI that I mentioned before. It's been really critical in terms of coaching HerdZ on, how to go about selling to customers when AI and machine learning is a really big aspect of what they're doing. They're also working with a couple, funding partners that we have listed on this page. They're in deep due diligence with the Southwest Angel Network, which is located here in Texas. And they also have been contacted by Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which, if you're on the phone or in the sustainability space, a huge player in terms of, reducing carbon emissions as it relates to climate change. So those are just a couple examples of some of the really great connections that we've been able to facilitate for those two companies in particular. Obviously, there's not enough time to go through an entire portfolio. Those are just two examples. I could give you 16 more, but we only have so much time. So, also wanted to mention, as already been stated, that Richard Amato is on the phone, and he started the Clean Energy Incubator back in 2001. That's 20 years of building up industry connections. And I have my own connections from my own work. Mark does as well. But we've been around for that long, having a sustainability focus. And I can't underline enough that whenever you've been in that industry for that long, at the drop of a hat, you can say, oh yeah, I know him. Like you can give you a connection there. So I don't know if Richard wanted to say anything as well before we get to the healthcare portfolio side of this.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I'll keep it brief for the sake of time. Again, as Aaron mentioned and Lisa earlier, Richard Amato. I started the Clean Energy Incubator. Now I'm Director of Strategic Global Initiatives at ATI, and I work across both the healthcare and the sustainability side. And Aaron and Lisa both said a lot already. I'll just add that our Text VMS mentor network that we have is over 100 mentors strong. We have investor partners. We have over 100 investor partners. We have corporate partners. All of those different types of connections are what we'll pull for this program to help put mentors and teams around you guys. But for the sake of time, let me just pass it on to Lisa to talk a little bit about the healthcare side.
Yeah, so we've very deep and very frequent connections across our healthcare ecosystem. This slide represents actually a subset of the healthcare ecosystem that's related to global health security. So Tom, that will resonate with you. These are companies that are working towards biosafety, biosecurity, pandemic preparedness and response. I should say this is a network of ecosystem providers that are supporting the work of innovators that are working in those areas. We've been meeting regularly with a representative from every single person on this slide since March, really looking to help assist companies that were addressing COVID-19 or perhaps were already addressing infectious disease threats long term. What that has allowed us to do is certainly accomplish the work of supporting those specific innovators, but it is not uncommon for us to share resources to support the work of a company that's innovating in the oncology space, or in things outside of infectious disease, but because of the frequency of the meeting that we have. So this small subset of, of what we're working on, but there's definitely a network effect. And I've found a lot of success for companies because we are working so closely across the entire state of Texas and even outside the state of Texas with funders, subject matter experts, and resources to make sure that innovators can have success in commercializing their products.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that. I got 3 slides to kind of wrap up the program piece of it, and then we'll open it up for questions. But in terms of our founders, the first 3 points here are strict requirements for the cohort. So you must have an SBIR Phase 2 award. You need to be in healthcare sustainability. I know there's been questions about kind of, does my technology apply? Well, those are open for questions. We have a pretty broad definition of sustainability. So please, follow up with us if those are your questions. And you need to have a strong commitment to building a diverse enterprise. In addition to the NSF defined populations, we're also seeking founders who identify as gender and/or sexual minorities. The last 2 points are suggestive of the stage we're targeting. There's been some questions about that as well. But if your company's basically moving from pilot customers or some early customers to really exploiting a market, so going to market, you're ready to scale, you're in the right place. Next slide, please. So program fees, a lot of people are going to have questions about how this kind of all works, and I'll stick around to kind of work through these examples as well. And there's a lot of different agencies that are involved, but it mostly works the same way. But this program is intended to be a learn and work graduate level certificate program that wraps a team of experts around your company and your go-to-market strategy. The program fees of $50K is those are supplemental funds available to you. So you may not have seen them as part of your award per se, but they're supplemental funds that are available to you that you request through your program manager, which will cover the cost of the program itself. Next slide, please. And then in terms of the application process, their applications will be opening March 1st. So great timing here. Depending on how much the material you already have in hand, the application should only take between 20 and 30 minutes to complete. You can expect drop down, short answer questions in the categories you see here, nothing too strenuous. Once applications are submitted, we're going to do an interview with you and your team, hopefully to learn more about you and your company. These are done on a rolling basis, so feel free to apply early so that we can kind of get to know you guys well ahead of the deadline. Applications will close the end of March, so March 31st, and we'll be announcing the cohort around April 15th, so we can celebrate tax day together. Next slide is just basically, we're going to transition to questions. It's our favorite part. We get to hear from you guys, learn about your questions. I think we picked up all the questions in the chat, or I've answered the couple that I saw, but if you threw it in the chat and we didn't flag it, please let us know.